I've always been a fan of the Dodge Challenger. I think still it's the best looking retro design muscle car. You have the Challenger, then you have the Camaro, and of course the Mustang. And thinking about the fact that the Dodge Challenger has been here since 2008, and to me it's still the best looking Challenger. It's just amazing what a solid, simple muscle car with these simple lines will stand the test of time. But what if you want a Challenger, but you also need more cargo space? Maybe you're even a lifeguard and you need to fit a couple of surfboards on the roof. How could we transform the design of the Challenger so that this guy can do his job properly? Well, that's what we're gonna find out in this video. So that's what we're going to do in this video. We're gonna turn this SRT Superstock Challenger into a shooting brake. I think when you look at this car, it feels like it's almost made to become a wagon or a shooting brake, which by the way is the same kind of car. You can call a wagon a shooting brake, and you can call a shooting brake a wagon. Doesn't really matter. I know some of you are going to argue with me on that, but the thing is, when you call something a shooting brake, the difference is that it normally has two doors, but it is still a wagon. But let's call this a shooting brake because it sounds a lot cooler than just calling it a wagon. So what we're going to do is turning this shape here, the Challenger shape, which by the way, I think is going to... It looks like the old Challenger from the 60s and 70s. And I think that's just proof of the simplicity in design, and that simple lines like this just stands the test of time. And I think this car is going to be just as cool looking and as beautiful as it was when it first came out in the 60s. What I want to do here is to first make sure that I get the right proportions in place here. One of the issues that I had with this was to think about, how do I want the side window to look like? Do I want the window to continue to stretch out onto the new body panel that we created as the wagon part of this? Or do I just want to keep it like this? And I decided to keep it like this, and the reason for that is going to be revealed in the end of this video. It's a pretty cool reason for it, I guess you could say, but I think also it looks a lot better than this. I tried to add some window onto this part. It just didn't look right, so I just skipped that part and made it look like almost a pickup truck with the bed cover on the back. I think it looks really cool. Now, there has been a lot of talk about this wide body kit here. Me personally, I think it looks awesome on the Challenger. And I mean, if you're going to make some crazy stuff on a car like this, and you're going to have some fun with some, maybe you could call it childish design features, such as these massive fender flares, I don't think there is any better car to do it than the Challenger, or a muscle car in general, because isn't that what muscle cars is all about? It's just about crazy numbers, crazy proportions, and crazy power for not a lot of money. I mean, this is not a cheap car, but still, you get the point. So I think the wide body kit on the Challenger actually looks really good, especially if you look at it from a straight rear view. It looks really beefy, and with the wheels and tires being flush, almost sticking out a little bit from the body of the car, it makes the car look super planted and super wide, which is a really cool look for any muscle car. So why would a lifeguard need a 707 horsepower machine to patrol the beaches? Well, we can think of it like this. Maybe this guy he's the only guy working on this beach, and he has a lot of beach miles to cover. So if someone is almost drowning at some spot of the beach, he needs to get there really quickly. So that's the argument why I think this specific county should invest in a vehicle like this. And I think it's a very solid argument, and I think we would win, and we would see this Dodge Challenger lifeguard car out on the beaches in no time. I think it looks so cool with the surfboards up on top of this car. It just completes the look of this car. It could even be some stand-up paddle boards up there, but this, to me, the size of this would probably be more angled towards some larger size surfboards, I would say. And when you sketch stuff like this, one really important thing when you sketch stuff like this and you want to make it look real, you have to think about the light source. And this is something that I come back to in my old sketching tutorials on this channel, is you have to think about everything needs to be affected in the same way from the light. So as I do here, I cover some, I think about the reflection of the surfboards in the angle of the rear window and also in the what kind of surface is being reflected. So of course you have glass and then you have the top of the roof, which is paint. So those two are going to reflect the surfboard differently and with different types of contrast, if you know, if that makes sense. So you got to think about that when you do work like this, to make it look real, because it's very easy to make it look like it was just copy pasted in there and then you can't figure out why it looks so fake. And that usually has to do with just a light source and getting all of that right, and just having the same kind of effect on all the parts that you're adding to the image. They all be affected the same by the light source, if that makes sense. And since this lifeguard is very busy, this has a lot of miles on it already, so it gets a little dirty. So I don't want it to be super clean, because that wouldn't benefit the argument that we're presenting here. So we need to make it a little bit dirty, make it look like it's actually been used and used every single day on a daily basis to save a bunch of lives on this specific beach here. And also we want to add some sort of graphic onto this car, so why not add some text onto that new surface that's been created, because we now have a shooting break, which means we have a new panel where we can put any sort of advertisements. Maybe we can even sell some advertisements to some companies that run their business along the beach, and that way we can even make some more money for the county. That's another argument that I think should be presented in this case. From here, it's basically just all touch-up stuff. We're gonna make some reflections and some highlights and shading and stuff like that, and in the end I'm going to actually make it look like it's sitting on a beach and not in a dry salt bed or lake like this, because of course we need to show the the exact situation or the exact scenario where we're going to use this, since we're going to present it to the county officials to get it approved and to get this built. So we need to add some sort of beach in the background, and that is the last mod I'm going to make to this design here. And it was fun, because it's usually not something that I do. I don't mess around with the backgrounds and stuff like that, but in this case I wanted the car to sit in an environment in which it feels natural to sit in for this specific car. So if you have surfboards and stuff, it only makes sense to see some sort of water at some point in this image. So I'm going to add that at the end of this redesign here. And also, yes, I did make the wheels a little bit bigger, because these are drag strip wheels, and we're not really on the drag strip here. We can have a little bit bigger rim size, but the wheels, of course, not sure if we're gonna have slicks almost like we have here for the beach. To me, it just doesn't really make sense to have that. But in this case, I'm gonna keep the slicks on this beast right here. And now I'm going to start sketching in the beach that I was talking about. And Rosie is going to come here and check out that everything is going all right. She's my project manager, by the way, so she's gonna check that the beach is coming along nicely up there. And I think she approves, because she's ready to jump out of here. So as I said, these are the type of redesigns or sketches or illustrations that I prefer to do the most when it's just a chill weekend video to create something fun. I do love to analyze car design too, but that goes into more deep of an analytic thinking than it is really creative thinking. And I like to do both, because they challenge different parts of the brain, if that makes sense. This is just pure fun, and I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed making it. And if this was real, I probably would present something like this for a county where they had one lifeguard and they maybe had a stretch of 5-10 miles of beach and they couldn't afford more than one lifeguard. This to me would be the perfect solution for that guy or girl to have a vehicle like this where they just drive up and down the beach depending on the situation and where they need to be, and they're going to be there in an instant. I'm TheSketchMonkey. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Like it if you enjoyed it, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell as well. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.